Welcome back to The Great Adventure, a 24-session course with author and theologian Jeff Cavins. Let's begin our journey through the Bible once again.
Welcome to our third period of The Great Adventure, a journey through the Bible. It is the Exodus and time in Egypt. We call it Egypt in the Exodus. It is our second narrative book, the book of Exodus. And we're going to be studying in this lesson chapters 1 through 18. It is the red bead on your timeline band, and in your workbook, you'll find it under the heading Egypt and Exodus. This is an exciting period of salvation history. We just finished with Genesis, with Joseph and Jacob and all of the family down in Egypt. And you know that they're going to be there for 400 years, according to Genesis 15. They're going to get the promised land someday, but now they're going to be in the land for 400 years. And 70 in all enter. They enter Egypt, but coming out of Egypt now, they've grown into a very large nation, so large that they're a threat to Egypt in numbers and power, and they're very, very big. Now, in 400 years, an awful lot can happen to a people. And the heart of this story at the beginning of this period in Egypt is that Israel is going to do something that has happened before, the repetition that we've been talking about. They're going to lose their story. They lose their story, and we see this in the future also with the book of Judges and during the period of the Kings, that a people who have been instructed and called to remember their story forget it, and they don't teach their children. And in a 400-year period, the children of Israel, as you can imagine, have become very involved in Egypt. Not only are they in Egypt, eating Egyptian food, dressing like Egyptians, walking like Egyptians, they are also involved in the Egyptian gods, which the Egyptians worshipped many, many gods. And so what God is going to do at this time, after 400 years, is He is going to bring His people out of bondage, and He's going to not only bring them physically out of Egypt, but He's got to get Egypt out of their heart. And so what we're going to look at this session is how God goes about doing that, and you'll find that it's very, very difficult. You know, a lot of people today are addicted. A lot of people are addicted to a lot of things, and breaking addictions and breaking habits is a very difficult thing to do. And oftentimes it takes a detox period, where it's a very difficult time to go through. And this is, in a sense, a detoxification that Israel is going to go through as they come out of Egypt. It starts off in chapter 1, and we're going to walk through this. It's fascinating. It says in verse 8, "Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and he said to his people, 'Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us.'" And so Pharaoh, seeing this threat, came up with a plan, and that plan was that every Hebrew woman who gave birth was to kill that son. And they ended up saving the lives of the sons, and so Pharaoh came up with another idea, and that was that all of the sons that are born to the Hebrews, you must take and throw into the Nile. And that will be a theme throughout this whole story, is throwing people into water. So you're supposed to take the boys and you're supposed to throw them into water. Every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live. And then chapter 2 starts off. And by the way, as we read that, put your Bible thinking cap on, put the lens on, and start remembering the themes in the story as we move along, because we find ourselves going back to them. And the whole story of the Exodus also will remind us of earlier events in the Bible. Remember, repetition and cycle as the story gets bigger. Chapter 2, "Now a man from the house of Levi went and took a wife